Hey everyone, this is Carbonite bringing you another standard match. This time we do actually have a mirror match between two Maelstrom decks. So on the left we do have Ryan playing a more budget-centric kind of Maelstrom build. He can't really afford the inlets yet. But on the right you do have me with all four of my inlets and the same Maelstrom deck that you have been seeing on the channel so far. So this will be a good opportunity to see kind of whether or not you can build Maelstrom on a budget without those inlet pulses. And it is also a pretty interesting match because we get to see kind of how the mirror match actually ends up going. Anyways, getting into the match, we are just going to be riding up, swing, passing. I am going to be blocking... well, actually, he went first, so this is going to be his first attack. But you are going to see me discard that inlet pulse. In case you haven't noticed with the other ones, I do love discarding inlet pulse for Ride deck because it is a complete brick until you get to that grade 3 turn. And you do also search out Revival in the form of that order. So you can just revive it from the drop zone at any time, assuming that there isn't a deck that can like banish your drop zone. Anyways, we are going to see me discarding another copy of Judgment Maelstrom because I am just going to be searching one out with this grade 1 skill. So sometimes you do get really clogged up if you're with a lot of Judgment Maelstroms. At this time I was playing 4 of them, but I've since toned it down to 3. I still need to do a little bit more testing of how the deck functions with just 3 copies. But given my experience, you do tend to get a lot of them, and when you do end up with a lot of them, it really sucks because they're really good cards, but at the same time you can only play 1 per turn and they can really clog up hands. Anyways, we are going to see me OTing here, which is not overly impactful. I mean, I do get a free plus 1, I get to draw that card, I get to do an extra damage, but other than that it doesn't really mean too much. Anyways, we are going to be seeing Ryan just riding into that Maelstrom, probably using that skill to check top 7, getting to call a Tear Dragon or an Aqua Force. So we do see him playing a lot of other cards that are not Aqua Force or Tear Dragons. Personally, I think that you really need to play like a lot of Aqua Force. I think some people have been like toying around with not playing the 4-wheel assault, which I think is kind of a mistake because you want as many live targets to hit off that as possible, and not just that, but also revive targets, because if you discard a card that is not an Aqua Force, you have no way of reviving it with that Judgment Maelstrom. It's just gone forever. Anyways, we are going to be seeing an interesting tech here, that Shield Fisher Dragon, which is actually a really good addition to the deck, or it works really well with the deck, I should say. Mostly because you are either calling from soul, sometimes you're calling from drop. We saw call from deck, so Shield Fisher is almost always going to be live, given the circumstances. But we are actually going to be seeing him use the Maelstrom skill to call out the Theo, which honestly I think is the best ride target. I know Algos is a grade 2, but honestly Theo just hits 13, which is just so much of a better number. So honestly Theo is 9 times out of 10 a call target than Algos. But we are going to be seeing, I do actually guard the Theo attack. I think that was probably a misplay. If I was just going to be taking this Tidal Assault attack, you'd probably just take it and hope for defensives, which I'm going to get one on the second damage here. So this Maelstrom is going to be swinging for a 1 to pass. So I'm not going to be guarding it because if he gets a trigger, he has to put on Vanguard in order to hit, and the Shield Fisher won't hit anyway unless he gets a double trigger, which we do see here. So he's going to be giving that part to the Shield Fisher, but I'm going to be getting another defensive, so that Shield Fisher doesn't really matter for anything. We're going to see that Theo go into the Soul due to the Maelstrom's effect. Of course, it couldn't actually restand itself because I'm not at grade 3, but it is still just like an attacker. That's honestly not a bad thing to do if you're running low on cards. You can always just use Maelstrom skill, pitch something in your hand that really can't attack, and just call something from soul that can. Even if it is just that Theo, because Theo is always going to be hitting because he's always at 13k base. But going into my turn, it looks like I'm also going to be calling a Wheel Assault off that Algo skill. I think in this matchup, Wheel Assault is a little bit of a liability, just because Maelstrom does have a lot of retire abilities, and keeping units in the back row, especially useful units like Wheel Assault, it makes them just like prime retire targets. Now we do see me here calling an Inlet Pulse from hand, as well as using the Judgment Maelstrom to call back the Inlet that I discarded earlier. I think that's a little bit of a misplay. Something I've noticed is that there are turns when you really want that Judgment Maelstrom, so playing it right away is not actually always the best play. Just because I think keeping it for later when you're more desperate for pieces is a pretty good idea. But at the same time, you do want to be like setting it up so that the next turn, if you have another one, you can Judgment Maelstrom and actually get that extra 5k, and then maybe the 10k if you find the third copy. But we are going to be seeing me swinging the Vanguard, retiring that Shield Fisher over the Wheel Assault, which was a very difficult choice because Wheel Assault enables the 4 attacks, but most likely he'll be able to get there anyway. But the Shield Fisher is a really annoying attacker. And as you see here, I do swing with the extra Inlet Pulse. I did that just so that if I get any triggers, I can just stack them on the Inlet Pulse and then actually get value off them. But I think that just going for a 1 Inlet Pulse that turn was probably a little bit better. I probably should just save the Judgment Maelstrom for next turn, in case I couldn't pull out an Inlet Pulse, or in case I Persona Ride, which is going to make that number much nicer. But we are going to be just using double Inlet Pulse. And I guess we should talk about what Ryan's doing. He called out that Theo with the Maelstrom skill. We do see the Judgment Maelstrom coming on down, reviving, I believe, that Tidal Assault that we intercepted with last turn. Just going to be swinging the Theo. I'm just going to intercept it. Not using the skill, interestingly enough, but using the Tidal Assault skill, just swinging at nothing and then swinging for 18 to get that 18. So looks like I'm probably going to guard this just because I can just tutor past the Vanguard with a trigger unit. It is a little bit dangerous because when people don't have another rearguard to stack triggers onto, it does get a little bit dicey because then they get a little bit bold and they tend to put everything on the Vanguard. But it looks like I am just going to be taking that because he would need 2 crits in order to actually win that turn. But as we saw, he didn't get any of them. So I'm going to be starting off with a nice Persona Ride. So as you can see, if I had kept that Inlet Pulse or the Judgment Maelstrom, I would actually be going into a much stronger turn, assuming I can revive, or I can call out a Wheel Assault or a Tidal Assault. But we are going to be seeing me discarding that Prize Trident for the Inlet Pulse, calling another Inlet Pulse from hand, and calling out that Sylvan Beast. So we are just going to be popping it, giving an extra 10k to the Inlet Pulse, which is going to be swinging for 33, which is very nice. And of course, it is going to be swinging with it swinging 33 twice. And another thing I just learned, thank you to whoever commented this, but actually Maelstrom gives a skill. Maelstrom's skill is on attack, so when you swing, you actually have to counterblast 1 and stand your unit, which is, it doesn't matter too much. I mean, it matters a little bit in the sense that if they get a defensive, you can't really do anything because, you know, it's standing already. You already paid the cost, and you can't choose because it's not at the end of the battle. But we are going to just be swinging the 33 and the 23 with the Inlet Pulse again, and then just swinging the Maelstrom drawing card, retiring that Tidal Assault just because it's a little bit more of a threat because it's a stronger attacker, taking the damage, and of course just slurping up my board, drawing the 2 cards. So that means that Maelstrom skill is not going to have anything to retire. So it looks like we are just going to be calling out something from Soul. So unfortunately, we don't have those inlets in Soul, so we don't really have a good call target. We haven't even been like Persona riding, so we don't have anything very valuable in Soul. We still only have that Algos and the Theo, so we do have to choose one of those in order to call out. And it looks like we are going for a little bit of a cheeky play, calling out that Algos, which has a skill that is kind of difficult to proc with everything going on, especially since you want Maelstrom to be the 4th attack, but sometimes it's just really weird with the Algos, especially if you're calling it from Soul. But we are going to see him doing a similar thing, calling out that Sylvan Horn Beast, giving a 10k to the Algos, who is going to be swinging twice. So we're going to be swinging the Algos for 20. Oh, I think we forgot to add an extra 5k with the Judgment Maelstrom, because now that you do have a second copy in there, you do actually get an extra 5k to 1 unit on board. But we are going to be seeing me taking that Algos attack. Algos is an on hit, but only on 4th battle. Looks like we're going to be just swinging for 20, or no, 28. Just going to be guarding that with a trigger. Oh, it's not 28. My mistake. It's 18. He didn't Persona Ride. Blech. Whatever. Swinging the Algos for a 20, which I think should have been 25 or whatever. But anyway, swinging that Maelstrom. Just going to be PGing that, not taking any risks. I am at 5. I took all that damage just to, like, ensure that I can do things. Discarding a Persona Ride because I think I have... Oh, yes, I remember. I have a ton of Persona Rides in my hand at this point, so I don't really need to bother with that. But we are going to see a heal trigger, which is not going to go off because I did take that damage and go to 5. So we are going to be starting off with a Persona Ride. This time I'm going to be using the Chalice to Persona Ride, which I think still is a pretty decent card. I mean, it does conflict a little bit with the Judgment Maelstrom, but like I said, there are turns when you're just not playing the Judgment Maelstrom. As you're going to see in this turn, I think I have one in hand, but I already have a ton of other pieces, and I don't really need the revival right now. So honestly, just playing the Chalice is fine. So I think it's fine. Gonna be calling out that Brave Shooter, which I think is just like a really nice, amazing card in this deck. Just helps you hit really nice magic numbers. We're gonna see the ideal title and wheel. Calling out a prize trident, probably just gonna, in case things happen, I'll still have 2 counterblast for next turn. But this Inlet Pulse is going to be swinging for 23, and then due to the Brave Shooter skill, it's going to be getting an extra 5k, which makes it a very nice 28. Just going to restand it with the Maelstrom skill, swinging the Tidal Assault boosted, using the Tidal Assault skill to Soul Blast 1 and give my Vanguard an extra 5k just to hit those nice numbers. Oh, it looks like we're not boosting, we're just going to be hitting for a clean 20. So it looks like we don't really have too much of a choice. Going to be taking that attack. There are 3 more attacks, I should be saying, and we do only have 3 cards left in hand, and we do see that 2 of them are PGs. So honestly, it doesn't matter too much what we do here. We do see he is using the trial deck PGs, but honestly, in this case, it doesn't really matter because he would have to discard for the first one, and then he would, even if he use this PG for free, I still have the Tidal Assault to finish off the game. So that's going to be it for the match. I hope you guys enjoyed. Go ahead and do all those YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.